A jury has found Hunter Biden guilty on all 3 felony charges related to a gun purchase in the fall of 2018. Just 3 hours of deliberations. It's a pretty straightforward case. Hunter's convicted, 2 counts related to false statements in buying the firearm, a 3rd count of illegally obtaining a firearm while addicted to drugs. Clearly a unanimous decision, but the jury was apparently split as of this morning. 6-6, with one juror apparently saying, "You're not going to make me change my mind."
Nothing was going to change her mind. She was going to come to her opinion, and we respected that, and none of us would even try to sway her one way or the other.
Well, she did change her mind. Remember, when Hunter purchased the revolver, he filled out a federal form, checking the box, saying he wasn't abusing drugs. The government proved otherwise. Texts just days after the purchase were some of the most damning pieces of evidence. One juror told the New York Post, and even though Hunter didn't testify, the jury heard his voice through excerpts of his audiobook, which was used as critical evidence.
By now, I possessed a new superpower, the ability to find crack in any town at any time, no matter how unfamiliar the terrain.
He faces up to 25 years behind bars. Based on all the facts and circumstances here, he may not get any time at all. Special counsel David Weiss, initially appointed by President Trump and kept on by Attorney General Garland, spoke briefly after the verdict.
Everyone in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct.
No more accountable. Now, remember, this is a case that he was initially not going to even prosecute, so it makes it sound like he may not even ask for prison time. He's also prosecuting Hunter in his California tax case, where he faces 9 federal charges. I think that case may become a much bigger deal for a variety of reasons, and the trial is supposed to start in September, just 2 months before the election. Joining me now, Terri Austin, host and analyst for the Law and Crime Network. Terri, surprised at all by the verdict?
I am a little surprised, but they followed the law, so that's exactly what we want them to do. We don't want them to take sympathy into account, and the 3 charges were fairly straightforward. Did he falsify that record? Did he lie to the clerk who sold him the gun? And did he possess the gun illegally?
What do you make of my sort of reading the tea leaves there on what the special counsel's saying about maybe he won't even ask for prison time?
You might be right about that, Dan, because what he should have said is no more or less. But he said no more, meaning that maybe he believes other felons who are convicted of the same crime don't usually serve jail time. So here I think he's thinking maybe Hunter Biden might not.
Wouldn't it be hard for him to ask for prison time in a case in the plea agreement, right? He wasn't even going to have to plead to this. He was pleading to the tax crimes. There was going to be a non-prosecution agreement on this case, meaning we're just agreeing not to prosecute. To suddenly for the special counsel to go in there and say, oh, this is really serious, he's got to go to prison, tough argument.
It is a tough argument, but he can still ask for it,
yes,
understanding that the defense is going to ask the exact opposite, and they'll come somewhere in the middle. He could also say, look, probation, this is a crime where there's no victim other than Hunter Biden himself, and so he might just say, look, I'm not asking for jail time.
What about an appeal? You think he's got any legit arguments here?
Well, they've talked about 3 different arguments. 2, I think, aren't going to make any sense. One, that it's political. To say that it's selective prosecution is very hard.
Yeah, that's a loser.
Very hard. He's saying that the plea deal is still in effect. Well, it's not. But the appeal saying that this is against the Second Amendment, I think that has a really good chance of succeeding, because before the Supreme Court right now is a case on point. There's several cases that have really dealt with this issue. So the Rahimi case is the case that says with domestic violence, you should be able to have a gun. There's another case, the Daniels case, that's exactly on point, saying that it's not legal, it's unconstitutional if, in fact, you can't have a gun just because you have been addicted to drugs. So we'll see what happens, but I think that's probably their best argument.
Yeah, and in the end, I would expect that the sentencing will happen when?
Mid-October, 120 days. That's what the judge said.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that that's about when it'll happen.
The tax case, that's the one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming into the tax case as a
convicted felon. So if he gets convicted in the tax case,
it could go up. The
sentence.
Could be higher.
Yeah. Terri Austin, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.